Conservative radio host Brian Fisher has a brilliant theory on the chaos in Charlottesville that he wants to share with us. Check it out.
What you had in Charlottesville, the media wants to cast this as a left versus right. On the left, you've got these anti-fascists, these Antifa protesters. You have the BLM, the Black Lives Matter people. They are on the left. They are the good guys. They're here to stand up against bigotry and so forth. And then you have on the right, you have the white nationalists, and they are the bad guys. They're on the right. They're the far right. They're conservatives. That's absolutely a false premise. Ladies and gentlemen, what you had in Charlottesville was not a showdown between the left and the right, but between the left and the left. What we saw in Charlottesville yesterday was not a clash between left and right, which is what the media wants you to think, but a clash between the left and the left. I was talking, Jeff, we were talking about this morning in the production meeting that, this is kind of like the Sunnis. You were the one that suggested this. Yeah. It's kind of like It
reminds you of the Shiites versus the Sunnis. They're both outside or considered, radical, but they're trying to implement their own version of Sharia, and we're seeing this now. Two sides of the left are trying to establish their own version. Which version of socialism is going to be the prominent one?
That is rich. So these guys are far right-wingers, so anything and everything that's bad, any political ideology that's bad, they say it's by definition left-wing. It has to be left-wing because it hurts my frail fucking ego to admit that they're horrible people on the side that I'm on, so it's got to be left-wing. It has to be left-wing. Oh my God. Okay, so their argument is, they're just arguing over which version of socialism to implement. That's right. I mean, obviously, the key concern of the people flying those Confederate flags and wearing the KKK garb and the people who are doing Nazi salutes and have quotes of Adolf Hitler on the back of their shirts, people flying the Nazi flag, people chanting white lives matter and Jew will not replace us. These people, obviously, they want to implement socialism. That's what they're fighting for. They're really big on universal health care. I mean, I know you might not have heard it in between the chants of Jew will not replace us and Jews are Satan's children, but somewhere in the middle there they said free college for all. They said living wage 2020. That's what we're in favor of. That's what we're fighting for. You know what cutesy little argument they use for this, right? It's actually not cute at all. It's pretty much the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. But they say, hello, Nazis. You know what the Nazis were, right? National Socialists. Checkmate. Nazis are left-wing. Gotcha! They really think that this is like a cogent argument. They're called National Socialists. Checkmate. They're left-wing. They're by definition left-wing. So let's grant them that, even though we're not going to. We're going to come back later and debunk that, but grant them that for a second. What about the KKK people? And then here's the argument they use for that. They go, the KKK founded by Democrats. Gotcha. So in other words, they're betting on you not being smart enough to look up the term political realignment, to find out that when the Civil Rights Movement hit and when Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, boom, everybody who was a conservative Democrat and a racist in the South, the Dixiecrats, they all fled the Democratic Party and they went to the Republican Party. Because, as Lyndon Johnson rightly pointed out, the Democrats have just lost the South for a generation. That's what he said when he signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, because he knew he was basically going to purge the party of all the racist Dixiecrats. So all those people fled to the Republican Party, but today you still have idiots going, the KKK's Democratic. Why are you blurring the lines and not talking about the political realignment and not talking about how the parties flipped on that issue? You're not talking about that because you're trying to be misleading on purpose. So, but let's go back to the National Socialism argument for a second, because that's the point they make. Nazis, National Socialists. National Socialists, see, they're arguing over, you got Black Lives Matter and the anti-fascists, Antifa, or as he says, Antifa, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. He goes, they say they're fighting over there's one version of socialism they're trying to implement. And then the other side is the Nazis, and they're trying to implement the other form of socialism. So just because Nazis called themselves National Socialists doesn't mean they are socialists. If that's the case, I guess you believe North Korea is a democratic people's republic, right? It's a democratic people's republic. Why is it a democratic people's republic? It says it right in the name. It says it right in the name. Democratic People's Republic. They're called the Democratic People's Republic. They have to be. They're a Democratic People's Republic, right? So see, it says it right in the name. It's a Democratic People's Republic because it says it right there. It's in the name. National Socialists. It's in the name. It's in the name. They're socialists. It's no socialists. He's National Socialists. It says socialist. It says Democratic People's Republic. It's the same thing. It's the same. That's what it is. These fucking idiots. They would rather literally argue semantics to try to convince you that everybody who's ever done anything bad politically is on the left. A child thinks like that. A fucking child. Jesus, man. It's 2017. These clowns still make arguments like this. They're on fucking radio. Like, people are listening, and they're not embarrassed to make that point. Left wing versus left wing. Yeah, left wing. Why don't you go ask the people in the Nazi fucking rally who they support for president? By your argument, it's one version of socialist versus another. So they supported Bernie Sanders, right? Being the closest to socialism among everybody there. He's a democratic socialist. So they supported Bernie Sanders, right? The people holding signs that say Jew will not replace us, chanting that, and holding signs saying Jews are the children of Satan, they'll tell you, I supported the Jew Bernie Sanders, right? Right? I thought one version of socialism versus another, right? Who do they support? Oh, that's right. They supported Donald Trump. Donald Trump in the Republican Party, the more right-wing party. Why must you obfuscate and deflect? Because you can't win an argument on the merits because you're wrong. That's why you have to deflect, you have to obfuscate, you have to blur the lines and muddy the waters and make shitty semantics-based arguments because you know deep down you are utterly full of shit.